The midnight masquerade. The clock struck midnight, and the grand chandelier of the Holloway Manor glittered with 1,000 crystals, casting an ethereal glow over the masked figures swirling below. It was the night of the annual Holloway Masquerade, an event that drew the elite from every corner of the city, eager to bask in the opulence and mystery that defined the Holloway legacy. Among the guests was Inspector Whodunit, a seasoned detective with a reputation for solving even the most perplexing cases. Tonight, however, she wasn't here for pleasure. The invitation she'd received was anonymous, and the brief message that came with it was even more intriguing. Asterisk, a crime is set to unfold tonight. Trust no one. Asterisk. Alara, dressed in an elegant black gown with a silver mask that concealed her sharp eyes, blended seamlessly with the crowd. Her senses were on high alert as she scanned the room, searching for anything out of the ordinary. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement and a hint of danger, as laughter and music filled the air. Lord Vincent Holloway, the aging patriarch of the Holloway family, stood at the top of the grand staircase, looking down at his guests with a proud but weary smile. Beside him was his much younger wife, Lady Isabel, her beauty accentuated by the deep red gown she wore. Despite the facade of happiness, there was an unmistakable tension between them, something Alara's keen eyes didn't miss. As the night wore on, the guests continued to revel, unaware of the shadows lurking just out of sight. Alara moved through the crowd, her mind racing with possibilities. Who had sent the note, and what crime was about to unfold? Her thoughts were interrupted by a loud gasp, followed by a scream that echoed through the ballroom. The music halted abruptly as the guests turned towards the source of the commotion. There, at the base of the grand staircase, lay Lord Vincent Holloway, his body lifeless and his eyes wide open in shock. Chaos erupted as guests scrambled to make sense of the scene. Alara pushed her way to the front, kneeling beside the body. There were no obvious signs of injury, no blood, no weapon. But the look of terror frozen on Lord Holloway's face told her that this was no natural death. Everyone, remain calm. Alara's voice cut through the panic, commanding attention. This is now a crime scene. No one is to leave the manor. The doors were quickly locked, and the guests, now prisoners of the mystery, were gathered in the grand hall. Alara's mind raced as she considered the suspects. Lady Isabel stood at the center, her face pale, but her expression unreadable. The Holloway family's longtime butler, Mr. Graves, hovered nearby, his demeanor stoic as ever. Then there were the guests, each with their own secrets, hidden behind their masks. Alara began her investigation, questioning each person in turn. Lady Isabel was the first to be interrogated. Her answers were calm, almost too calm, as if she had rehearsed them. She claimed to have been with her husband moments before his death, but there was no one to corroborate her story. Next was Mr. Graves, who had served the Holloway family for decades. His loyalty was unquestionable, but Alara couldn't ignore the subtle animosity in his voice when he spoke of Lord Holloway. According to him, Lord Holloway had recently changed his will, leaving everything to Lady Isabel. A motive, perhaps, but Mr. Graves insisted he knew nothing of the death. As the night wore on, Alara grew increasingly frustrated. Every suspect had a possible motive, yet none had a clear opportunity. It was as if the murderer had vanished into thin air. But then, a detail caught her attention. Something so small it had almost gone unnoticed. A faint scent of almonds lingered around Lord Holloway's lips. Cyanide, Alara whispered to herself. It was a classic poison, nearly undetectable if not for its characteristic smell. But how had it been administered? And by whom? Alara's thoughts returned to Lady Isabel. Her calm demeanor, the sudden change in the will, it all pointed to her. But there was no evidence, no witness to place her at the scene. And then it struck her. The wine. Lord Holloway had been holding a glass of wine when he collapsed, a glass now shattered on the marble floor. She turned to the sommelier, a man whose face she barely remembered among the sea of masks. His hands trembled slightly as she approached. "You served Lord Holloway his wine tonight?" she asked. The man nodded, his eyes wide with fear. "Yes, Inspector. But I swear, I had no part in this. Did anyone else touch the glass before it was served?" He hesitated, then pointed to Lady Isabel. "She handed it to me personally. Said it was a special vintage she wanted her husband to try." Alara's eyes narrowed. The pieces were falling into place. Lady Isabel had poisoned the wine, knowing that it would be nearly impossible to trace the cyanide in such a crowded room. But why? The answer came not from Lady Isabel, but from Mr. Graves. "It wasn't just the will," he said quietly, stepping forward. "Lord Holloway was going to leave her. He'd discovered her affair with the sommelier. She couldn't afford to lose everything." The room fell silent as Lady Isabel's mask slipped, both literally and figuratively. Her perfect facade cracked, revealing the cold, calculating woman beneath. Alara sighed. The mystery solved, but the air still heavy with the weight of what had transpired. "Take her away," she ordered, as the guests watched in stunned silence. As Lady Isabel was led out in handcuffs, Alara couldn't help but feel a pang of sorrow. The Holloway Masquerade, once a night of mystery and allure, had ended in tragedy. But such was the nature of her work, unmasking the truth, no matter how dark it might be.